Beverly. Not to call you out, Beverly. It's 6:01 on March 19th, 2024, and I hereby call this regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council to order. Could you please bow your head for invocation by Councilman Finley?
Heavenly Father, be with us tonight as we discuss city business. Thank you for allowing us to gather here in this beautiful community. Please guide us with our decisions. Let them be for the better of our community. And these and all other things we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor DeBrio.
Here.
Councilmember Finley.
Here.
Councilmember Lisi.
Here.
Councilmember Cumberland.
Here.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Marr.
Here.
I'm going to move to amend the agenda to take off the consent agenda and move to the action agenda. Number 14, motion to approve procedures and rental agreement for the Noma Drive ball fields. Could I get a second to move as amended?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor? Aye. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council will be held on April 2nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers located at 5000 Diamond Head Circle. Next, we have Cadence Insurance presentation with Mr. Frank Bordeaux that I don't see.
Yeah, Frank became ill yesterday and was not able to be here today. So his assistant sent me everything, and I gave you a copy. Just to sum it up real quickly is where's my email going? You took it? Oh, here it is. Our total increase over all lines this year is about 9%, which is from 119,000 to 131,000. The major portion of those increases are, number one, our property has increased in value based on the inflation factor. They increase it by 3%, or 2%, excuse me. They increase it by 2%, our values, in order to keep up with the rising cost of replacement construction. And the other is our loss ratio on general liability, employment practices liability, and of course we had a couple auto claims. So that makes up the difference. Frank will be here next meeting on the 2nd, and we will make a recommendation at that time.
Okay, so I saw it on the agenda.
Yeah, we put it on there last
Mhm.
week, but we got this today, and of course, we thought he was gonna be here, and we would have a recommendation tonight. John and I looked at it this afternoon, and I mean, we're not gonna change basically anything that he has presented. If you look at your first two pages that I gave you, the first page is the premium summary, which shows the current premium versus what we're gonna enter into next on April 8th. The second two pages are all of the different markets that they shopped, and you can see the result or the response out to the side. They're still waiting on a couple, although all the ones that have reached out at this point either were not competitive or declined to quote us. So the markets approached, and I thought those would be the two. These are also in the proposal itself, but I thought those might be two things that you would want to reference pretty quickly, and they're on pages 17, 18, and 19. But Frank will be here in the interim. If you have any questions, you can email, call John or I. We'll, get the answers.
So it's an increase of 9%, and we budgeted.
We budget a 10% across the
Always.
board for any kind of insurance, so because it's
Okay.
just kind of the norm. We did have a decrease in our inland marine, which is our equipment, like Public Works, some of our equipment here. because what John and I did was went through the list, and if it was 5 years old and had a value of less than 1,000, we removed it, because there were so much that it kept adding up, and some of it was weed eaters, and, you know, there were some smaller items. John, you might remember a few other things, but, yeah.
And I see the deductible went from 5,000 on wind and hail to 25.
The deductible on which part, the inland marine or the,
Yep, inland marine.
yeah, but if you see what our renewal was going to be, the renewal, they were going, no, we didn't accept that one. We accepted, Ascot, which is a $10,000 deductible, or 3%, 25,000 wind and hail.
So what page is that on?
It's on your sheet right here.
Okay.
And then if you can go through, I didn't actually, it's on page 3.
3.
Mm-hmm. It starts there. There's your property coverages, and then it goes to your inland marine. And of course, if it's a named storm, you know, you got the 3% pretty much across the board on,
So we did do the Ascot insurance?
well, that's who their recommendation is now. I don't know if they're gonna get any more. She said there's still a few applications out, that they haven't gotten a response from.
That's
Mayor?
the one with the 25,000 instead of 5.
Excuse me, Mayor. I was just going to point out that on the consent agenda, item
Mhm.
18,
We need to-
there's a motion to approve insurance renewals, and because Mr. Bordeaux is not here to answer these questions, and it would give you all more time to review, maybe we should adjust the agenda again?
We will. Thank
If you
you.
look at the actual on the inland marine, the deductible is 1,000, with the exception of the light poles, which, and the kayak launches, which, those are considered, well, the kayak launches are considered waterborne, so they fall under a different deductible. The light poles are a high risk, even though they lower. We did have to verify, wind load capacity and resistance on those, so they did insure them, but they placed a $5,000 deductible on those. Now, if it is a wind and hail event, it is, it's a 3% subject to a minimum of 25,000. So basically like, a hurricane, a
Mhm.
deductible on the property.
Okay, well, we'll table this and read it.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm going to move to adjust the agenda to table item number 18 in the consent agenda, 2024-079, motion to approve insurance renewals for general liability, auto, employment practices, liability, and equipment. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. All in favor? Aye. City managers report?
Thank you, Mayor.
Sure.
I would just like to let everyone know that this Thursday, we're renewing again for this year the open jam here at City Hall at the gazebo. So that 6 to 8 p.m., the third Thursday of each month, it will go on throughout the season until sometime at the end of October. Thank you.
All right. Give you some updates on current projects. We're just moving along with several of them. The Park 10 Road, the contractor is making some great progress there. This weather, unfortunately, is causing some issues, having to clear out after the rains. Unfortunately, the road is very difficult to navigate right now, so residents need to be aware if they're traveling to the Diamond Head Water and Sewer District office that the road is very torn up right now. But you still can get there and conduct business if needed. But it'll look good and much better when it does get finished. The Noma Drive restoration project, the contractor has returned to the job site and is completing the multimodal path on the other side of Noma Drive. The striping has been done, and then once they finish the multimodal path on the other side, they will stripe a crosswalk for that one end section. and that should be, finish up their project. Unfortunately, the contract is 195 days right now, or the original one was, and it ends March 24th. So there is a change order, a second change order, that's on the agenda tonight to extend the contract till May 3rd, and that should give them plenty of time. They've just been held up mostly by the Phase 1 contractor just trying to get his work done and get out of the way of him. So they finally were finished, and so he's able to get started and had got back on it yesterday, and so it shouldn't take them long to get that entire project finished. The Bowview 2 project, the engineer is working on updated documents. He sent some to the contractor yesterday, or today, I believe it was this morning. And so they're trying to get everything finished up. As soon as they do, we'll get a schedule from them and issue a notice to proceed for the contractor to get started. The bond paving Diamond Head Drive project has been completed. There has been a punch list established. I'm waiting to hear back from the engineer on the schedule to complete those punch list items. Most of it is the striping of the bike path. There's just some of those just did not adhere properly, and so they've got to come back and fix those. The Montjoy Creek project, the engineer is still completing the design on this project, and hopefully we'll have plans here maybe for the next agenda if we're lucky. But here in the next few weeks, I spoke to them last week regarding this project, and they're trying to finish up on it. Noma Drive Phase 1, unfortunately, the bids came in well over the engineer's estimate, and so the project is on tonight's agenda to reject all those bids and go back out for redesign. So the engineer is going to work on redesigning the project and seeing what else can be eliminated or reworked so that we can get the cost down to what the budget, the current budget we have is. It's mainly the same thing we have for everything else. Construction cost is just going up and up, unfortunately, so we're just not able to get as much for the dollar as we wished. Kaliki Way, that project, we just received the contract documents today, and we'll be setting up a pre-construction meeting with the engineer and the contractor and issue a notice to proceed soon. Bayou Drive, that project, we've got all the bonds and contracts back already. Pre-construction meeting is set up for Thursday, at which time we will determine the notice to proceed and get a schedule for that and get that project started very soon. The Hilo projects, there are 4 of them actually out there that we're working on that I talked about last meeting. Met with the engineer last week regarding these 4 projects, and I think we kind of come up with the final designs, issues that people have brought to our attention, and they're going to work on getting that put together and should have 90% drawings back to us either by the end of this month or sometime first of next month. All those projects, ARPA projects, have to be under contract by the end of August, so we're kind of moving along on those, so you'll start seeing several of those here in the next few months. The canal dredging, MDEQ recently received the comments from the Restore Council regarding that work plan. They're reviewing those comments and we'll get them back to the Restore Council, and once they all agree, they'll start the process, the final process for the award, which will hopefully get us moving here. We do have a time limitation on that, as the permit for that expires at the end of this year, so we've got to hopefully can get moving on this pretty soon. MDOT Turner roundabouts and interstate widening. The roundabout project, of course, notice to proceed is April 15th. The interstate widening project is proceeded or started on March 14th, and if you've been driving up and down the interstate, you should have seen some of those survey markers and signs out, so they're starting to getting to work on that project. As the engineer said at the last meeting, they're starting here in the Diamond Head area, working back to the east is their plan. And that may change, but that's currently their plan is to work in that direction back east. The Noma Drive walking trail, the engineer is still surveying the area to get that walking trail and trailheads determined. The city that was awarded our $500,000 from the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Grant, I received the grant agreement this Monday morning, so I'll get that on the next agenda for you guys to approve so we can get that back to them and get that project started. The dog park, Neil Schaefer is coordinating with a surveyor on the original survey to determine their level of effort and the lead time. So as soon as they can get that worked out, they'll get that back, and they'll request the Reed subdivision process, which will include the dedicating of the road to the city. The other projects, Noma Drive Boardwalk, Detention Ponds, and Pelican Cove Drainage Project, no new information on that this month. We just, they're still working on those, and hopefully we can get something back soon. The rest of the ARPA projects are, as I said, have to be under contract by the end of August, so we've got engineers working hard on those, and hopefully we'll have some more documents or some more projects here to get advertised for. And that should be it for me.
All right, thank you. Councilman Marr?
Yeah, John, on item 4 on the agenda, the resolution to allow the attorneys to negotiate acquisition of drainage and utility easements. How many of those did you send out?
I can't say how many specific easement requests. I don't have that number offhand, but I've sent out over 210 letters to residents to get right-of-way entry into their properties. Probably half of those, maybe, or a little bit more, also requested the request for easements on those properties as well. It's step one. It's asking them if the residents are okay with that. It does not mean in any way that we're coming in tomorrow and taking their property. The main thing that most people need to realize, and residents have come in here and talked to me about it, and once I explain it to them, this is still their property. An easement does not mean we're taking land away from them. The owner still owns it, the property owner still has it and can do whatever they need to, except as an easement, they can't build something permanently on it. And that's the only major issue with that, is that just you can't build something permanently on it, but we will maintain and take care of it from that point forward. A lot of it is that we just need, with the bank stabilization project, we just need the area to be able to lay back the sides of the banks so that that water, as it's coming through, is not eroding away individuals' properties.
I do have a problem with the mass mailing out of it. And the reason
Well,
being is private property rights, and people should have a reason for their particular property, not like, oh, we're gonna go down here and some of you we might need to take some
no,
of you
sir.
and some we might not.
No, sir. Every one of them that was mailed was, the engineers have determined that's the areas that they need for different projects. For the bank stabilization, I have a survey. It's a draft still, so there's some adjustments to that that have been made already for each individual property that the engineers have already determined will be needed based on the topo and what the surveyors have come back with as far as information. For the Turnberry project, same thing. The engineers have already determined what is needed and what would have to be required to accept as additional easements.
So the homeowners were notified of what is needed for their particular property.
Yes, sir, 100%.
Thank you.
All right.
Councilman Clark? Okay, I have a few questions. So there were 210, and I'm gonna start out with number 4. There were 210 letters sent out, and 142 are still outstanding. So a lot are still outstanding.
Yes, ma'am. 20 of them were Colo Court that I just sent out yesterday, so I can mark those off. But those are all for right of entry only. Not all of those are easements.
So how many out of the 210 is easements, do we know?
Couldn't say.
And people are confused with the right of entry and the easements. That's very easy to get it's very difficult to receive something in the letter from the government and not panic. It's just, that's just how we
I
are.
agree.
Because it's
And
never
I've-
a good thing when you see,
And every one of them that's come up here
Mhm.
and called me or emailed me or
Yes.
spoke to me, I've explained it to them, and everyone left understanding better and are accepting of that. But first, bit of notification is to, write a letter. I don't have any other way to communicate with these people.
so see, that's a very good statement you said. Once I talked to them, then it was okay. So you clearly stated what my next statement was gonna get to be. Instead of jumping in with the eminent domain or
Nothing was written on there that said anything about eminent domain.
with the motion on number 4.
That's later on down the line if needed.
So would it be beneficial because you know who they are, you know the addresses, you know who they are, is to do a 6 o'clock meeting on an afternoon so people could get in from work. Say, hey, everybody come here at 6 o'clock. Here's the plans on all the projects, since we have all the plans. And clearly explain at one time, we're taking the easement, we're asking for the easement because we want to be able to do this ditch, and the ditch has got side slopes that are going straight down, and we want to try to get 3 to 1, or we need to do some stabilization, and let me explain why it's not going to work the way it is now. So if we had an easement, then we could get in here and do that, and let the engineers put it together. They could do something, not very long, just a presentation, an hour, get the 210 people here, invite them, and you'll probably get the letters back, because then they'll know, okay, well, here's what we're doing. We need the easement because they're going to fix the erosion in my ditch, or they're going to, change the way the water's flowing here and correct it. And then they know a right of entry is only a moment of time. The city won't have permanent right of entry. It'll be a right of entry during the time of the project that's specifically stated, and it'll clear the atmosphere. That's just my thought on that. Have a meeting, get the engineers in here, and all these people that got a letter, give them a chance to, and then it'll tie up less of your time of people coming one by one to hear. Okay, that was the first thing I had. Then in February 27th, I sent 2 holes. There's a hole in the right-of-way on Live Oak. It's between Live Oak and Pecan Ridge and the Oaks.
Yes, ma'am. I put a work order in with Public Works to work on that.
And there's also a hole in the right-of-way near 5613 Diamond Head East.
Yes, ma'am. Put that one in as well.
Okay, both of these holes are big. They're big, like hazardous big. Can we put cones and flagging them around them, being they're out in the public right-of-way, so nobody falls in them or trips or?
I will speak to Public Works about that.
Okay. Jex Drive lighting project. So we had a motion, I think it was Covington Engineers, a work assignment. Where are we with this project? Because I keep getting asked, when is the lights coming on Jex Drive?
They're still working on that, just trying to get that done. Should be soon.
Do we know the percentage of where we are?
I don't right offhand, I mean.
Okay, because this has been taking months and months and months. Can we ask them to move? They might be hearing me.
They're working on it.
Can we move quicker?
Yes, ma'am, they're working on it.
Because it's been taking a while, and it is extremely dark at night there. McKeekee repairs. There were some things. Is McKeekee still under warranty?
Yes, ma'am. Bottom to top's aware of that, and unfortunately, weather is preventing them from getting that done, but they have said they'll get over there and address those issues.
So it was a 1-year warranty?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. Okay, that worked out well. The HMGP tornado warning siren. I know I bring this up a lot, but we're getting into hurricane season again. Any update from MEMA?
No, ma'am.
That's been 3 years.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought we were shortlisted on the funding.
Like I said last time you brought it up, they asked for a new quote, and I got a new quote updated from the vendor and sent that to them, and that's what they needed, and it's in the process. So not something that works anytime quickly, unfortunately.
This is the longest I've ever seen. I've worked with them a lot, so we need to maybe light a fire under them. SMPDD was doing the road rating report, so they were going around, they regraded all of the roads according to the condition they're in. We had that done several years ago. Contractors came in, built homes, different conditions, different variations has caused different roads to get in worse condition over time. So SMPDD came back, re-rated the roads. Is that report ready to send out to the council?
I do have that, and I'll be working on that and get it to you.
Okay. Because Bayou Drive, I keep getting complaints on that road again. Do we know how that fell on the rating?
Not offhand. It's
It's got a lot of things that need to be updated on. and this came up in the ward meeting, so I just want to bring it up. The community rating system, which this helps residents get a reduction on your flood insurance. We've been working on this
Yes,
for a
ma'am.
while.
Yes, we got the audit back from from MEMA, so now we'll be scheduled with FEMA to come in and do the on-site visit.
Oh, okay, so we're getting closer.
Yes, ma'am. I got the audit back this morning.
This morning?
Mhm.
Well, isn't that good timing? Okay, let me write that. Speaking of audit, so on the agenda is the audit to approve for the FY '23 audit, $35,000, which is a lot of money. So we know the purpose of an audit is to provide an independent, objective examination of the city's financial statements, accounting, and internal controls. We do have, and Councilman Clark's no longer here, so we need another member on the audit committee. Can we make sure that the audit committee is engaged this audit? Because the primary purpose of the city's audit committee is to provide an oversight of the financial reporting process.
Mayor, all committees were abolished.
An
By
audit,
council action.
that's not a steering committee, that's an audit
All
committee.
committees, according to the action.
Okay, well, here's
You'll
what
have
I
to
got.
recreate one.
Here's what I've got a problem with. The auditor comes in, and the people they're auditing are the only people they talk to, not,
No, ma'am, they'll ask each of you, they'll do or
I never heard from
every
the last.
auditor I've ever worked with will do an individual interview with each one of you.
That didn't happen the last audit. This is the same
Not sure.
auditors.
Or send you a survey, maybe, either one of the
We
two.
didn't even get a
questionnaire.
survey.
We'll make sure that at least they do that.
We didn't get a
But
survey
if you want
that-
to create a committee, go ahead.
I think
That's
we
up to you
need
guys.
to. Whoever wants to work on it, I feel we need to, because that lets you ask questions. I've always had them where I've worked with the auditor.
We did get a survey in our mailbox for the audit.
I didn't get one I did for Ty Nikkei's. I did every time with Ty Nikkei's. I didn't this past audit. I didn't even know what was going on. But I have in the past for Ty. He always had one in the box that said, do you have related parties? You know, and that's something elected officials need to answer. Do you have any related parties that do business with the city? Those are questions we want answered and asked. I'm asking these because it's on the agenda, and before I move to approve, I want to ensure that things are in place.
We can make sure each of you get a questionnaire, at least.
Okay, so, and then I had a question on the minutes, which we discussed briefly, the city attorney and myself. So on the minutes that are on the agenda tonight, 2024, it says, motion to discuss the use of the activity center and e-blast system by the city council members. Motion made by Ward 1 Finley, second by Ward 2 Lisi, to discuss the use of the activity center and e-blast the system by the city council members. And then it says, voting yes. And all of us are on there, and motion passed, carried unanimously. So this is going to be a legal question, because this is just my thoughts on that. We never called for a vote on this. So I don't know how it can read a motion carried unanimously. When you look up Robert's Rules of Orders, and it says, when recording city minutes, it is essential to accurately capture the proceedings. If a motion is made for discussion but no action is taken, follow these guidelines. Briefly describe the discussion. Note the agenda item and summarize the discussion points. For instance, Region 2 position, discussion held regarding nominations being open for Region 2 director. No motions or votes were taken. So it clearly states that no motion or no votes were taken, but it was discussed. And I just have concerns of it saying I voted yes when I didn't vote.
May I address?
Mm-hmm.
So the mayor and I talked about this at length by email earlier today. And before we came to the meeting, I came and watched the live stream of the meeting. And when this motion was read by the mayor, the mayor asked for the motion. Councilmember Finley, you moved. Councilmember Lisi made a second. Mayor, at that point, you should have called for an in favor of the discussion, but you did not. You did not follow parliamentary procedure. So you then said, and I'm quoting, "We'll start with Councilmember Finley." So with that said, the motion was discussed from 2:16 on the timer until 2:31. Every member of the council talked and discussed the motion. Mayor, you even started discussing it at the 2:21 mark. So the record, basically, in essence, you all voted by discussing. So I understand you have a difference of
Oh,
opinion.
very strongly have a difference.
I understand that. But we have to reflect that a discussion was had. So what I would recommend, if the council wants to, is to amend the motion to say the motion was made by Councilmember Finley, the motion was seconded by Councilmember Lisi. The mayor did not follow parliamentary procedure and call for a vote. A discussion was had with comments by each council member and the mayor, and no further action was taken. And the reason I think that's important is because the action was not taken by the council, but following that discussion, each of you have received information about the activity center and the ability to live stream now, which was the topic of the discussion. So Mr. McGraw took action on behalf of the administration following your discussion. So the motion is, was there a discussion? The motion was to have a discussion, and a discussion was had. There was no objection.
There was no vote taken, no vote.
That's because you didn't follow the parliamentary procedure.
Well,
But
what are
we
you
can-
sitting over there for? Maybe you should have said, Mayor, you need to call for a vote, or
Well,
that
Mayor-
is what the legal is supposed to do. If you see something is not in order,
Well, Mayor, if you would like me to fall on that sword, I will, but you've been running these meetings for years, so I would expect that you also would have caught that.
I did catch it. I didn't vote for it. So I see that it says here that I voted yes. It says Councilman at Large voted yes, Finley voted yes, Lisi, and none of us voted.
Again, I gave you the position.
The system automatically puts a yes vote unless we do an objection. If anyone would have objected, she would have put no, then it would have put a no for them and yes for everybody else. It's an automatic thing that our new system does, and you have to override it if it's going to change. But the fact that no one objected, it was the general consensus that the discussion could be held, and everyone participated.
Again, it's
We
important.
didn't vote, though.
Again, it's important to note that there was no action. It was a motion to discuss, and every member on the council discussed.
And typically, I have written a lot of minutes in my life. If it's for discussion, then it says, motion was made by X to discuss, second by X, and then it says, a brief discussion was made and on the topic. It doesn't say, because that could constitute many things. If we say anything up here and we're talking about discussing a motion, you're going to say we voted yes? How is that even?
Again, Mayor, I've made my position and Mr. Cusick's position clear, and I absolutely understand your position. So my recommendation to the council would be that you either vote as it's written or move to amend to reflect what actually happened, which was the motion, the second, the parliamentary procedure was not followed, and a discussion was had, no further action was taken.
What was not followed?
You didn't take a vote. That should
How
have been
can
what
you
happened
vote on a
next.
motion to discuss? So first you discuss it, because this is how the motion's written, a motion to discuss.
Yes, ma'am. If you take a vote, if you took a motion and a second to discuss, then you would vote whether to have the discussion. That is my understanding.
We have never done that in the 8 years I've sat here.
Point of order, please. You asked a question, she answered. How many times would you like to ask her that same question?
Until I get an answer.
She gave you the answer. It's not going to change. If you want to.
Councilman Finley, you're out of order, so what are you saying? What are you recommending on this?
So my recommendation, again, would be for you to ask the council to do one of two things. The council could vote to approve the minutes as they are written, and every council member is entitled to obviously make their vote, or to amend the minutes as I have stated, which is to say Councilmember Finley made the motion, Councilmember Lisi made the second, parliamentary procedure was not followed, a discussion was had, and no further action was taken.
And that's perfect. I'll go with that. Okay. That's perfect. All right, now moving on to, I still have a few more items. We had a resolution that was sent to the city clerk and city manager for House Bill 16959 and Senate Bill 2780. And it didn't make it on the agenda, but a lot of cities have adopted the resolution. And if you've watched the news about Senate Bill 1659, you see the controversy about Senate Bill 159 and 2780, and it's on the Tidelands. And this is very serious legislation. Senate bill did pass in the House. It's headed over to the Senate. There is a chance it won't make it out the Senate. The Senate bill did pass. It's headed to the House. There is a chance that it will not come out the House. Just for the record, I'm going to read a letter that former Senator Gilat has written about this legislation, because Diamond Head needs to be a part of this. The residents need to be aware of this. This is about the Tidelands issues along the coast. It is very serious. All residents need to read the bills. This is from former Senator Gilat. Dear colleagues, although it has been a few years since I left the Mississippi Senate, I still consider you all my colleagues, so I write you today in the spirit of legislator to legislator. I was instrumental in the passage of the Gaming Control Act of 1990 and the bill after Katrina in 2005 that brought the Gulf Coast casinos on shore. Before the original Gaming Act was passed, we studied other jurisdictions with gaming, judged their successes or lack of success based on their gaming laws. We saw that the areas with limited licenses had problems. In those areas, we saw the casino operations sat on their profits and did not invest, leading to stagnant growth. And we saw corruption. Rather than limiting licensing, we embraced the unlimited licensing free market approach that has led to what we call the Mississippi Miracle. No time in 1990 or in 2005 did we consider limiting casino development on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. The free market is the level playing field that all existing casinos agreed to compete in. That is why it's so concerned that House Bill 1689 and S Bill 2780. These bills rewrite the rules and put to power in the hands of the Secretary of State. They have never intended by us. These bills are no more than a move by other casinos to limit competition. They are exactly what we're afraid of. For the Gulf Coast to continue its success, let the market decide how many casinos should operate. Laws written by the existing casinos should be avoided at all costs. Thank you for hearing my opinion. Hopefully you will consider remarkable remarks. Warmest regards, Tommy Gilat. There's a lot more in this legislation that deals with the Tidelands and giving the control completely to the Secretary of State. So I'm going to ask you all to please look at those bills and reach out to your legislators. Thanks. All right, that's all I have. Councilman Cumberland?
John, just to clarify, the Noma Drive Phase 1, that is the boat launch and the boat ramp and the kayak launch?
Yes, sir. Phase 1B, as we call it, is the boat ramp, the boardwalk, or pier, I should say, the kayak launch, and the parking lot, conference station, and lighting down through there. Yes.
What ideas have you guys got right now to, you're going to scale it down, try and rebid? Any ideas on how we're going to do that?
There's not a lot to scale down. It's pretty much what it is. Right now, our overwhelming idea is, unfortunately, to remove the parking lot at this time and see if that doesn't get us under budget, and then we'll have to just go out for or search for other funding to pay for the parking lot itself, and which I know doesn't. So then you have a boat launch with nowhere to park, but we'll just have to make that work for a little while until we can get some funding for that as well.
I want to say reflectors is what I'm calling them, little things that are
That's
going
fine.
in the road between
sir.
the buffers.
Yes,
I
sir.
know you said you've gotten them in. Do you have an idea of when we're going to get those installed?
I'll get with Ty on that. He's aware of the project, and we should be getting started on that here very soon.
I know I've said it before, but I do like the striping.
Oh, thank you.
I think you guys did a good job with that. The
I'll
roundabout.
let the engineers know.
Roundabout, we got a notice to proceed on April the 15th. Have you got any good advice for us on what's to come and?
Walk. Unfortunately, yeah, it's going to be a headache, and it's going to cause us, I know, a lot of issue, but they'll do it as best they can. Like I said, the Phase 1 project of the commercial district right now, if you try to get to the water and sewer department, it is a terrible road right now to get through, and unfortunately, that's what that's going to be as well for a considerable amount of time. But
Have they
it's the
given
best we can do.
they given you any indication on which side they're going to start on?
They have not. The MDOT engineer that I talked to several months ago felt like the bridge was probably going to be the first thing they work on, and getting that third lane and the multimodal lane started on that, simply because that's in their right of way, and that's something they can do without interfering with anything else. But they haven't decided, or I haven't been told which side, but I can reach out to MDOT again and see if they can, once we get closer to the 15th, and see if they can provide me with a schedule.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure it's going to start slow, but yeah, the more communication we can have, the better on that, right? Yes. So that's all I have.
Councilman Lisi?
Thank you. Okay, quick question. So the House and Senate bills that she just mentioned, so does that have to do with the Mississippi Sound Coalition resolution that we heard about
No, ma'am.
previously?
No, ma'am. It's completely
Totally a
different.
separate thing. Okay. Just making sure I wasn't confused, and I was, so thank you. Okay, and then I do remember getting the audit committee, or the survey that Councilman Finley also got, so I did receive that, and I remember filling it out. And then thank you for clarifying the easement issue, and I agree with the mayor, it is scary when people get letters. And can you just touch on eminent domain for just a minute? Those are obviously scary words for people to see in a letter, and when would that become appropriate? And it's kind of a last resort.
I'll let legal handle
issue.
that,
Okay.
but it would become it will be a last resort issue for us.
So let me start by saying the city of Diamond Head has never in its history had to start eminent domain proceedings. Okay, so that's the first thing that's very important to note. But where we are today is there are a lot of properties, and the letter, if I'm understanding John correctly, did not state that there would be eminent domain proceedings. Okay, so where we are today is that to start the process, there are many steps that have to be taken. The surveys have been done preliminary surveys have been done by the engineers, and we have sent out the letters to the potentially affected property owners. They can come in, they can talk to John. At some point, whenever it's decided how the project is going to proceed, then those same homeowners would receive correspondence that tells them that their property has been surveyed, and we would be looking for an appraisal for the fair value of the amount of land that we would need for an easement or a right-of-way. And we would give them that opportunity in correspondence to reply back to us. They can go, if they need to, and speak with anyone they so choose, whether it be at city council or anything else. If homeowners are unwilling, after discussing all of these things, seeing the surveys, unhappy with the amount of funds that are offered at fair value, then at that point, if we needed that property to proceed with an easement or a right-of-way, at that point, that is when the city would start the eminent domain proceedings. Again, we've been fortunate, and nobody has ever had to do that. We've been able to work with our residents very well, and I have every reason to believe that will be the case again. Now, the reason that this is on the agenda is because we are trying to streamline the process and make sure that we are handling everything in the correct order and we can begin our negotiations. That is why it is on here, so that we can start the first steps and keep moving forward.
Thank you for clarifying that. And then if the city does have to go onto an easement or go onto somebody's property, will it be restored to its original?
Certainly, that will be
Condition.
the contractor, on the contractor to restore any and all property back to the, as best they can to the way it was originally.
Because I know these are some questions I've been getting asked, and I
Certainly.
just wanted to address them in the meeting. Thank you for clarifying. That's all I had.
Councilman Finley?
No, ma'am.
All right.
Mayor, I'm sorry, there was one thing Jeannie reminded me of that I apparently didn't state in answer to Councilmember Lisi. Obviously, while we are getting the process to start to work on obtaining these parcels of property, before any action, any litigation is filed, the council will have to, we would have to come before you again and give a list of those properties, and which we would have to have a vote by the council to approve starting those eminent domain proceedings.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to public comments. We have Mr. Leo. And I have your address written down here, so you don't need to say it. Can you say your name?
Leo Marino. Oh, okay. This concerns the letter sent out. Before I would sign a letter, I want to know how they're going to repair these ditches. So far, it's just, we want you to come in, give you the permission, and no signs of what type of repair. Will it be riffraff, sheet pile, whatever. No plans. But the ditch behind my house right now is 11 feet wide and 8 to 10 feet deep in spots. It's already been eroded. I've been complaining about that ditch since Mike Riso was here. All I ever got is under engineer study. So if we had 5 years of study, I want to know what you're going to do, how you're going to fix it. Not just that we're going to fix it. And so far, there's nothing. I want to see measurements. I've already lost land, trees. I've already fell in the ditch. Public Works had to come in and remove them. The house I bought flooded in Katrina because stuff fell in that ditch. I've seen the water come up into my yard. They take any more of the ditch, I'm going to have waterfront property on Kiko Street. But before I sign anything, you can do your eminent domain, whatever you want. But I want to know how it's going to be fixed.
If you would call the city hall on tomorrow, we'll set up a meeting and I'll explain everything we have so far.
And you can tell me how it's going to be fixed, how it's going to be,
I'll discuss everything I have with you. Yes, sir.
so you can't tell me how it's going to be fixed.
I'm not going to now.
You're not going to do that. Well, it knows me coming. That's what I want. That's why I didn't come before.
Call city hall tomorrow and we can set up a meeting, sir.
Well, I asked the council not to vote for it until they can tell the people what's going to happen. And then tell them that we give them easement if they have fences, sheds, anything. If it's torn down, it's going to be their responsibility to put it back. That wasn't stated in the easement thing. A lot of these people don't know the rules. Yeah, so that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is it in the plans to replace the fences that are taken down?
Currently, all plans include moving any sheds that may be in the easement, as well as removing any fences and either putting them back up if they're in good condition or restoring with a new fence.
Okay. Mr. Rod?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members and City Manager and staff.
Good evening.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm here to talk about my property. I have 2 pieces of property. I have a property on Iona Court, and I have a property on Kiko Street. And like Leo, my ditch is 10 foot deep, 10 foot wide. It's over my head. When we first moved here, the ditch was 1 foot deep, and I could walk across it. And it has been constantly dug out and dug out and dug out. And it keeps taking out more and more yard. And one part, I have a shed back there, and y'all keep encroaching closer and closer to my shed. Now, I have this thing where I get the letter saying like, hey, we're coming on your property. We're gonna take your land. We're gonna take it because we're gonna take more land. We're gonna make it bigger. 3,000 square feet you're gonna take from my property on both sides? That's a lot of land. And as far as I can tell, it's gonna be a retention pond. Would you like to have a retention pond back to your house that you can have mosquitoes and everything else growing in it? I don't think so. But I just don't understand this thing about the eminent domain coming in. It's like this has already been decided. Y'all are coming in, you're gonna take it no matter what we say. I had plans on building something on Iona Court. I was gonna move to that property and give my son my home. I thought maybe this was gonna be a time where we're gonna be close by to each other. Obviously, it's not. And in fact, it's gonna make my property value decrease some tremendous amount on Kiko Street where I live. If I'm gonna have a ditch back of my house that's gonna be 20 foot wide, and I don't know, God knows how deep, and if it is gonna be a partial retention pond, it's not gonna be that good. The part I really am concerned about is what the city manager said tonight, that, oh yeah, if they don't bone up to it, we're going, eminent domain, we're gonna take it. And I'm not happy with that.
That was never said by me.
Well, you
Feel
made
free to
that
call
comment.
City Hall tomorrow, and we can, I
Well,
can
you
talk
may
to you
tomorrow,
about your
but if
specific
this-
project.
Let's put it this way, it's not just gonna end with me. I'll have to take it elsewhere if I have to, but I'm just not gonna let y'all I'm not gonna roll over on this. We've given on that ditch, and all of a sudden, it's gonna be more. And now you're telling me, oh, by the way, once we take your property, we're gonna make it look nice, but you'll never be able to use it. We're going to maintain it for you, as your words. We're gonna maintain it, but you can't use it. So that idea of me having a house back there, that's gone. That's gone. So what am I living here for? If I can get money out of my house, oh, by the way, come look at the back of my house. There's a public swimming pool in the back of my house. So anyhow, folks, thanks for listening to me. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you. Bill? And you do not need to say your address.
I'm Bill Atkinson. I'm here to talk about the Noma Ball Field procedures and rental agreement. The agreement as published right now is not really ready to be finalized. There are a lot of issues that need to be resolved before, so I urge the council not to approve this. Some examples of the issues with it. Under the rental agreement, number 8 says no glass bottles or alcoholic beverages are allowed on the premises. Well, Rule 3 later on says no alcoholic beverages, and Rule 9 says no glass bottles. Further, Rule 15 says no tents or canopies are allowed on fields, while Rule 16 says any tents or canopies must use sandbags. So there are a lot of things that need to be worked on in this. I would suggest that in finalizing this agreement, that other sports complexes agreements and procedures be looked at to see what they do. I come from the experience when my kids were young of soccer tournaments were 2 or 3 days, and so those issues are a lot different than like a football season or something like that. So I would urge you to not pass agreement for the rental agreement pending resolution of a lot of issues. Thanks.
Thank you. And I think you had another one, no personal coolers, and then you brought up
Well,
that
yeah.
the teams
Well, I
brought
just
their.
pointed out a few.
Oh,
No
okay.
personal coolers are allowed. You know, that's unrealistic in a sports situation. And then no outside food. Well, you know, if you have a game at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning and a game at 3 o'clock, you know, you're not going to want to just buy from the concession stand. You'll want to bring your own food. And, well, just another issue is all persons shall wear shirts, pants, shorts, and shoes. Well, does that mean shoes or it mean any footwear? So that probably needs to be changed. Then another issue is as far as the tents and canopies must use sandbags. Well, it'd probably be better to say they must be anchored with weights rather than specifying sandbags. So urge you to look at this and revise it as needed. Thanks.
Thank you. Beverly? You don't need to say your address.
Beverly O'Hara, and I wanted to just ask, it said several people wanted resumes. I think a lot of people, a lot of the residents would like to have the resumes of the P&Z committee, because it seems like a lot of them actually don't know one hand from the other, and it's very frustrating for the residents. And I would really like it if, and I'll be at the next P&Z, and that probably is more appropriate to ask them too, but I wanted to make sure that in the future that was kind of standard procedure of anybody that wanted to get on any kind of committees that represent the city, that we have a resume that we can share with all of the residents so that we can make sure we're adequately being represented. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. All right, that concludes the public comments. So moving on to motion to approve the March 5th, 2024 regular scheduled meeting minutes. And I'm going to move as amended by city attorney. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Finley. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2024, motion to adopt resolution 2024-00011, authorizing Cusick Williams, PLLC, city attorneys on the behalf of the city of Diamond Head to negotiate acquisition of drainage easements and to prosecute suits for eminent domain pertaining to the projects listed herein. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilwoman Lisi. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. Councilman Lisi, any discussion?
No.
Councilman Marr, any discussion?
Yes. I really think this motion is premature, and that what we really need is to have, like the mayor suggested, maybe a town hall meeting to all the people that were sent letters so that they can air what's going on and find out all at once, and then come back to this to be sought. So my thoughts on this is that this is premature to be asking for this today.
All right, Councilman Clark?
No.
Councilman Finley?
I have to agree, if it had just stopped at negotiate acquisition of drainage easements, I probably would have been okay with it, but I think the public has a right to know more before we move, because we're looking, nothing, as we know, nothing happens in a hurry, so I don't think we're in a hurry to vote on this.
Councilman Cumberland?
I agree with that. I do want to ask some questions, though. This is part of the bank stabilization project, or some of it is,
It would be all drainage projects that we have currently going
drainage
on.
projects.
There are easement requirements on the bank stabilization, Colo Court project, as well as the Turnberry project currently.
When doing this work, is it possible that, the easements are going to be improved, the ditches are going to be improved, they're going to gain property, or are they going to all lose property, or is it a case-by-case situation?
Probably more of a case-by-case situation. The ones on Turnberry, unfortunately, are going to lose property, but that was the choice of the property owners. The ditch has moved tremendously outside the easement that we have there, and those property owners chose do not want to see their trees torn down and instead would rather sacrifice their backyards that they've already lost because of where that ditch now runs. And so the idea is that we would stabilize the ditch so it would not erode anymore onto their property, and then that would be the easement that we would require on them. On the bank stabilization, yeah, that's going to be, unfortunately, property to property, making the determination of what that ditch is actually doing on that property and how it affects them.
And is that the one that's in the Kiko area and the?
Starting at Calipacona and going all the way down Applahama and Iona and making a turn back towards Montjoy Creek. Kiko, you're gonna have to help me.
Close
I
there.
can't think of where that's at. Right offhand, that I think that's more in the Coon Branch project, which the engineer's just working on, and we haven't asked for easements on that one at this time.
Okay. Yep, that's all I have there.
Looking at the project, so the projects listed are Turnberry, Comey, Coon Branch, Cola Court, Banklet Stabilization, Comey Drive, Ahuli, Kaylee Street, Bowview 2, Hilo Street, Kaliki Way, Fairway Drive, Commercial District Transformation. The two that we need to focus on are Bowview 2, because we just mentioned we're going to be issuing the notice of receipt after the pre-con, so we probably should have already had the right-of-way or the easement secured before.
There were no easements that the
So it's
engineers
right of
provided
entries?
to me. It's just right of entry.
Okay, well, that's typical after it bids, that's fine. Kaliki Way, we secured all the easements,
There's still 2 easements that the engineers are working on to get.
and the Kaliki Way is a serious one because we're issuing the notice of receipt on that one after the pre-con. So those are 2 that we need to work on, harder than the others. But the others, they're still on the drawing board. There's time to have a meeting. There's time to get people. Do you even have drawings on all the others?
Turnberry is, they're probably going to have it at the next meeting for approval.
Okay, so then they have enough for people to come in and see. Open it up. You sent 210 out. You could send 210 again and say, hey, come at 6 o'clock on such and such date. We have the plans here. We'll explain what we're doing. And then it won't be so, you won't have 210 people visiting, because if I got it in the mail, I would, this is my nature, I would be up at City Hall asking to meet with you, and I know you're busy. You're extremely busy. This would cut it down to having everybody come in and let's discuss it. Here's what we're doing. This is why we asked. And this is how we're going to move forward. This is why we needed it. Very simple. That's just my thoughts on it. I'd rather see a meeting before we move on this. All right, City Clerk.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Can we go back through? I have just a quick question. If this, and that's all great to have a meeting, and I think the more we communicate with people, the better. But is procedurally, do we need to move to table this? I mean, if we vote, because what I'm hearing is not now, but I'm just saying procedurally, what do we need to do to do this correctly?
Well, the council could vote to table it. And another option is the council could vote to amend it in some way. I know from listening, I think 3 of you for sure, maybe 4, were okay with negotiating the acquisition of the drainage utility easements, but wanted to wait on the language with regard to the eminent domain proceedings. So that's 2 options, either of which I think would be acceptable for you to consider.
Okay, if we vote to table, how would that affect the project? Is that going to slow anything down?
Probably the only one that might get affected would be the commercial district transformation, getting on that project. But we probably have enough time. We can make that work.
Okay, so you need a motion then to table?
We already have a motion on the floor and a second.
Well,
And if any of you want to move to amend that motion, Mayor, I'll let you address that. But I know that procedurally, the council has done that in the past when they've decided to change a portion of a motion.
And I guess my question on that is a motion to negotiate the acquisition of the drainage utility easements. I think if we had people in place, I mean, if we had the residents in here, there's going to be a lot less negotiating. We probably are going to have the questions answered. It's the unknown, the uncertainty. They don't know what's happening. When you send 210 out and you only get 142 back, there's a lot of confusion. I think after the meeting, we should revisit it. After the meeting, it's probably going to clear up a lot of information. That's just my thoughts. So, with that being said, City Clerk?
Can I ask
Who
one
can
more
make a
question?
motion to amend? Only the person that made the original motion?
Well, she can withdraw
Amend.
her motion. Anna made the motion. Councilwoman
Do you want to withdraw the motion?
Or do you want to amend your motion?
I'd like to amend my motion to table this.
Second.
Okay, so we got a motion that's been amended to table it and a second by Councilman Marr. City Clerk?
Then we just need okay. All right, Finley,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
Cumberland,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Motion to adopt Resolution 2024-012, thereby appointing Kirk Raymond to the position of the Planning Commission Commissioner Ward 2 for the 3-year term effective immediately. Motion?
Move.
Motion made by Cumberland, second.
Second.
Second made by Lisi. Any discussion?
Yeah, I would like to say that I did receive the resume for this gentleman, as I do on just about every one of these, I think, just so you know.
Yeah, the resumes are part of public record. They're in every agenda packet that I've ever, since I've been here.
Okay, with that being said, City Clerk?
Finley,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
Cumberland,
Yes.
Clark, Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. 2024-071, motion to adopt Resolution 2024-013, thereby reappointing Lynn DeBrow to the position of Planning and Zoning Commissioner Ward 4 for a 3-year term expiring March 2027. Motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilwoman Lisi, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Clark. That was a tie. I heard it coming out quicker to my left. Any discussion? All in, City Clerk?
Finley,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
Cumberland,
Yes.
Clark, Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Motion to adopt Resolution 2024-015, authorizing the mayor to execute amended interlocal agreement between Hancock County and the Mississippi Tax Collector and the City of Diamond Head and the collection of solid waste fees. Motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Marr, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. Any discussion? City Clerk?
Finley,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
Cumberland,
Yes.
Clark, Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Motion to approve consent agenda items 9, 10, 11, 12,
Wait,
13.
skipped one.
I do 8.
Oh,
Skipped eight.
8.
sorry. 2024-081, motion to adopt Resolution 2024-015, authorizing the mayor to execute the amended interlocal agreement between Hancock Bank, Mississippi Tax Collector, and the City of Diamond Head for the collection of taxes. So these two are in reverse, because I read the other one first.
Wait,
Motion?
change my, wait, which,
I did, I read the
You read
second one
081
first.
first,
I
so they
need-
took a
this
vote on
needs to be
081.
81, and this one needs to be 8.
Just making sure y'all are awake.
Thank you.
Motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley, second. Second made by Councilman Clark. Any discussion?
Did
City
you s-
Clerk?
Did you say Hancock Bank?
She did.
Yes.
Can we
It's okay,
make
we
sure
know
that's
what you meant.
Hancock
Hancock County, that's what the motion says.
Thank you.
Hancock County. City Clerk?
Finley,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
Cumberland,
Yes.
Clark, Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Consent agenda items. Could I get a motion to approve 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, and 17?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. All in favor?
Aye.
So, we've moved the tabled item number 2024-072. Could I get a motion to table the procedures and rental agreement for the Noma Drive ball fields?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Could I get a motion to approve e-blast policy?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Marr. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. Any discussion? Can we get a brief from legal, a brief outline of what this does?
Yes, Mayor. Refer to my notes. So this is from an earlier e-blast policy that was started but was never adopted. The administration is not including election information because not every resident uses e-blast. From a legal perspective, I think what the e-blast is covering, which are basically emergency type actions, are what I see in other cities as well.
Okay, all right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve docket of claims DKT 231562, DKT 23158888 in the amount of $580,681.07. Motion.
So moved.
Motion made by Lisi, second.
Second.
Second made by Cumberland. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve payroll payables DKT 231552, DKT 231561 in the amount of $49,603.53. PR claim 0190 in the amount of $29,898.07. PR claim 01091 in the amount of $29,425.47. And PR claim 01092 in the amount of $2,752.79. Motion?
Move.
Motion made by Cumberland, second.
Second.
Second made by Finley, all in favor?
Aye.
Could I get a motion to approve department reports A through B? Motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Lisi, could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Cumberland, all in favor?
Aye.
There is no non-agenda public comments. Any need for executive session?
No, ma'am.
All right, could I get a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Motion made by Cumberland, could I get a second? Second made by Clark, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you, thank you.